Biloxi can look up for this day on. Yeah, Biloxi is a great place. Like I said, I was reared in Biloxi. Had an opportunity to go through the military and a whole lot of other places, but this is home. One thing about Biloxi, you can always go to your neighbor and talk to him.
That's right.
You can go to just about any house and be fed.
That's right.
You know, and even with our mayor, Andrew Fofo Gillage, a hometown guy, open door policy. There's nothing like Biloxi. And I've had an opportunity to settle in many places, but I decided to come back home and do what I needed to do here at home.
Ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls around the world, this is MD Redmon from Coastal Spotlight, and the spotlight is shining real bright tonight on political issues, community issues, and we have the great man of the hour that's going to demonstrate what it means to be a community leader. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Mr. Felix Guys. How are you doing today, sir?
All right, Mr. Redmond, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I had to invite you because, you know, it's a lot of people in our community. When I say our community, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the 2nd Ward of Biloxi.
Ward 2.
Woo, Ward 2. Not 1, not 4, not 5, but 2.
But 2.
You're a lucky guy to be in Ward 2, you know that?
Amen. Yeah, it's a blessing.
Were you born and raised in Ward 2?
Born, raised in Ward 2, come from a family of 11. I'm number 8 of 11, and all of us was reared right there in the community of Ward 2, downtown Biloxi.
So that even makes it better to understand the people and know where the community should go, being from Ward 2.
Yes, the history of Biloxi, and you know it goes deep, especially with the black community. It is a very deep community, deep-rooted community.
Yes, indeed. Before Katrina, you know, it was the neighborhood was full of life.
Yes.
Full of families.
Yes.
There was a lot of activities going on. After Katrina, how much did we lose family-wise, population-wise?
Wow. After Katrina, that was one of the devastating storms. And when we're talking about a storm of such a magnitude,
right,
we lost darn near 30, almost 40% of our community. Yeah, and that was a severe blow to the community.
Right.
Yes.
So that's a big percentage.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So to get that number at least halfway back, what are some of the things, you know, Ward 2 should do?
Well, right now, when you're looking at a community like that, when you're looking at a devastation, one of the things that we look at is you try to get that community back within the first 5 years. We weren't unable to do that, and that's what prompted me to get out there and run for city council, to try to start building. And of course, when you build, you can't build for right now. You have to build for the future. And those are the things that we wanted to try to implement. When I walked into this office, I looked at the people who were there. Of course, there were people who were gone. And when we didn't successfully bring our people back, and now we're 10, 15 years later, you're not going to get those people back because their kids are being raised somewhere else.
Right.
So right now, our objective is to start building for the future, building for the ones who are here, such as our millennials. Our millennials are the ones who are going to drive our future.
Right.
And we have to kind of start looking at them. They're the driving force of our economy at this time.
Absolutely. You're definitely right. A lot of like leaders like yourself, gentlemen that I knew in the neighborhood, even ladies I knew in the neighborhood, they are older. They all, you know, the ones I know over 65.
Yes.
So yeah, the grandkids and the great grandkids that are still there, they definitely you definitely have to look at them as, you know, the future building of, you know, Ward 2 or even the whole city of Biloxi. You know, or do you know for a fact, or do you know any awareness of someone trying to be political community involved with the young ones?
Yeah, there are various people out there who are trying, and I am diligently looking. Of course, in order for a community or a city to thrive, you need to start looking forward to the next political leaders. I myself, I'm in my 50s now, and it won't be long before I hit the 60s. So and I can't do it forever.
Right.
And of course, in politics, it will run its course, and I am aware of that. And just like I spoke to you before as we spoke offline, I don't want to be a politician who sits in there and sit in one position forever. I either need to move up, move on in some capacity, because in order for our community to thrive, we have to have a maturation process. And sometimes that maturation process entails moving on to another leader. So I wanted to ensure that I want to set the next person up for success. Even though when I walked in, it was a lot of devastation. I was coming during the Katrina recovery, all the above, and we're still trying to recover. But I want to set the next person up for success, and I do not want to sit there forever.
Absolutely. Setting up the next person. And if you do move up, what'll be the next office you're going to run for?
Well, it's funny. Yes, of course, state representative is what I took a bid in, and it was a very close race. We're talking about less than 3% of the votes determine the election. So, for those out here who's listening, every vote counts. Right. A lot of times we don't think of how important our vote is. Our vote is so important. And 3%, you're talking only maybe 150 people that could have determined the election and the outcome of my election. And it's not just my election. We're looking at other things. So if you really want to make a change, you have to participate in the process.
Absolutely. So since we on the topic of voting, let's talk to these 18-year-olds and older, the ones that do turn 18. Give them advice where to go register to vote.
Nowadays, the Secretary of State, the last Secretary of State, Deborah Holtzman, they even made it where the process is a whole lot easier.
Okay.
Especially for our millennials. Our millennials are very tech savvy.
Right.
You can go online and register to vote nowadays. If not, call your local representative. Call myself. We will be happy to come out there. You can go down to City Hall. You can go to the voters registration office at the courthouse and register to vote. Those are areas that you can register to vote. And of course, your bigger question is how imperative it is. If we don't start taking a very good interest in these things, we're talking about determining the future and the outcome of what things are going on. And now a lot of people are not happy with decisions that are being made. A lot of people are not happy with the outcome of certain elections. If we don't participate, then other people, as we say, they're going to do what they want to do because you are not participating.
I agree. And then when you get politicians that's not from Biloxi, just have a great networking campaign and get into office and do things their way and step on a lot of toes from the community that they're representing, and they can't complain because they didn't get out and vote. So
exactly,
if your guy didn't win, if your lady didn't win, or whatever the case may be, it's because you sat at home doing voting thinking it wasn't important, and now you're complaining because this guy in here, and you feel like he's messing things up instead of improving things. So you're absolutely right. They definitely got to get out and vote.
Right, and the power of the vote, and people underestimate the power of the vote. Even if you don't get the candidate that you want or that you wish, someone knowing that you are a registered voter someone knowing that you have interest, you can appeal to that politician. You can start making him think the way you need him to vote.
Wow.
You know, far too many times, even in my younger career and doing other things, I always let my political leader know that I voted. When I went to them asking for things or my opinion, your opinion counts, and your opinion needs to be taken seriously. You know, even some of the more far-fetched things that come at me, I listen to them because I may be able to use them in some fashion or form, because these people are your voters. These are the people that I answer to. And one thing that they have to understand as a constituent, you have a right to say what you need to say. You have a right to your opinion, and it needs to be respected. If your politician, if your representative is not doing the things that you want them to do, then you need to push those issues toward him. And if he's not doing it, then, you know, you have a chance to see him at that next election.
Absolutely. The power of voting is very powerful. And like you said, we're in the world of digital. We're in the world of the World Wide Web. So you can easily file a complaint online now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, instead of back in the days with a lot of letters, you can voice your opinion online. I even see a lot of surveys online now.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. And even if they're just, you know, and of course, being a politician, you're going to get the brunt of a lot of things. Some are just, some are unjust. But of course, with the digital world we live in, those are the obstacles we as a politician face. And even if the scrutiny is unjust, we still deserve to give those people an answer. We
Right.
have to give them an answer.
Absolutely. It's right. Numbers are very important. So, like you said, just, you know, even though your guy doesn't win, but when you look at the numbers and like your guy was just 1% away from winning,
Yes.
and you look at those numbers, you know, the opposition looking at those numbers too.
Yes, and then you talked about my election, 3%. Well, in less than 4 years, there's going to be another election.
That's right.
So if he doesn't want a challenge for that next election, then he's going to look, and he's going to take me serious when I pick up that phone to make a phone call. And because the people that I represented who voted for me have a concern, it is my duty also to let him know, hey, this, you know, it was just 3%. So you need to listen to some of these people because you have an opportunity to win those people back.
That's
And
right.
and even in the office that I sit in now, you're never going to win an election 100%. I've, you know, there's not many times I've seen 100% winning of an election.
Right.
And so there are people that didn't vote for me, but I'm still their representative no matter what. So when they call me, I have to take that into consideration. Okay, you're calling me about this issue or this situation. My job is to take it seriously, move it forward, and at least give them an answer. I owe that to them because I'm their representative.
Right.
You know, and because they didn't vote for me, that means I just blow them off. And far too many times when we're in the political game, that if we know someone didn't support us, we treat them like crap. Well, that's one of the things that I've learned in this game. Everybody deserves an answer, whether they voted for you or not, because
Absolutely.
you are their representative. And that's the way we need to treat the people.
Speaking of representative and being a representative, say you do win the next election to be state representative, give our audience a definition or insight of that position. Because a lot of positions are out there, but a lot of you don't understand the position and the importance of the position.
Yes, when you're talking about elected official, we essentially are lawmakers. Now let's start from the city council position. As a lawmaker, we make the laws for the city as a councilman. So you have a board of 7 and a mayor. In Biloxi, we have a strong mayor, weak council. So we implement policies for the mayor, who takes on and implement those policies within the city. Now, the mayor do not vote. A lot of people think that the mayor, he's the superintendent of the city. So any issue or any resolution that's brought before us in accomplishing any type of action comes to the council. We vote on it. We take it to the mayor for implementation. And that's pretty much how it worked. Now, the one that I was running for, state representative, you're essentially a state lawmaker. And if you remember the old story, I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill.
I sung it the other day.
Absolutely. Our state works the same way as the U.S. Congress work.
Really?
Yes, exactly. The only difference in that is we have a state Congress and we have a state Senate. And then the governor is like our president. The governor can veto any bill that goes before.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it still takes on that same process. The one that I was pursuing, we take it into committees. You have your House committees, you take it into committee, and when it comes out of the committee, the House can vote on it and then take it before the Senate, and the Senate has to approve it, and then, of course, moving on to the governor to sign into a bill. And it can also have the same challenges as from a U.S. standpoint that they have. But, yeah, we are essentially making laws for the state. If you think about one of the hot button topics, legalizing marijuana.
Right.
That can come from the House, and we can take it and channel it all the way up. Roads and bridges, same thing. The BP funds, that also went through the same channels. So things start from the House, and they work their way on up to the Senate and to the governor to sign. And of course, it's a longer process than a city process, but essentially they work the same.
That is a great political insight on how things are formulated. That in our listeners, we have a young all the way to old. Now they got a better understanding of what's going on and how important the vote is and how powerful the vote is.
Very much so.
Yes.
And and I want to throw a little plug in because this year we're having a census track, census. And so we're trying to account for everyone in the state of Mississippi. If you remember 20, 25, 30 years back, we lost a seat. Right now, we only have, I think, 6 electoral votes in the state of Mississippi because we lost a seat because of the population count. Now, communities like mine, myself, Ward 2, the last time we had a census tract was right before I entered office. And the area of Ward 2 was undercounted 30%.
Whoa.
That is a big number. And so when you're undercounting an area, you're looking at about $2,500, almost $3,000 per person that the state loses. So you figure 30% of a population like just Biloxi, 30% of 55,000 people, that's a lot of money. And then you start looking at it from a statewide area.
Right.
You lose a lot of money there. And then not only that, you're also talking about the electoral college. Mississippi can benefit from that extra seat that we lost. That gives us another vote in Congress. That gives us another power source when we're talking about Washington, D.C. And also when we talk about federal dollars coming to our state, coming to our county, and coming to our cities, the census is so important. So I encourage everyone to get out, self-report. If you don't know, contact your local elected officials. This year, the census, the people from the Census Bureau is charging the elected officials to ensure the people in their communities get counted.
And with the census, since you brought that topic up about the census, when your area is undercounted or if it's not medium or high populated, does that mean some of the resources and the money that get dispersed out in each state, it goes from the top to the bottom, meaning like, well, they don't need this right now. It's not a lot of people in that area, so we're going to work with them That's how that works?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Numbers are everything.
Absolutely.
You know, if you look at the there's an ESPN document. You know, when you start looking at the facts, look at the numbers,
Yes.
and numbers never lie.
Yes.
And there's an episode about numbers never lie.
Right.
But these numbers definitely never lie.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get the numbers in, you don't get the financing, and you don't get the financial backing.
Right.
And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen that's listening to us, the power of the vote, and please register with the census. Stand up and be counted. Let's say
Absolutely.
that. Stand up and
be counted.
Yes, indeed, because we need those resources, definitely. And we want to thank Mr. Gans for coming on and breaking down the political process, because like I said, it's a lot of questions in the home about,
Yes.
Politics.
Yes,
You
and and when you start thinking about school funding numbers, because every school, especially our public schools, they receive funding based on population,
Right.
based on the attendance, and so if you don't have those accurate numbers accounted for, your districts won't receive that funding,
Right.
and that's so important. Biloxi is now a A-rated school, and we would like to make sure we keep it that way.
I definitely agree. That's a lot of feel good and assurance for parents that have their kids in Biloxi School District. Speaking of the district, is Biloxi considered city schools?
Yes.
And then
yeah.
you got your county, right?
Right. You have your city schools and your county schools. You have two different superintendents. The city of Biloxi have its own school board by
Got it.
itself.
Right.
And what we do is we as the mayor council choose our own school board. The representative for us is K. Francis Horn for our community,
Got
who's
you.
doing an excellent job representing our school board. And like I said, they make the rules and they make the laws. And one good thing about Biloxi School District, we, the city of Biloxi, also subsidize our school. A lot of counties and a lot of cities who are much smaller in the state of Mississippi don't have the funding that Biloxi have.
Right.
And we're able to subsidize our school teachers so that we can pay them a little more. That's why we, the city of Biloxi, attract bigger, better teachers and around, because the bottom line is this: if you don't pay them, they're not coming.
I agree.
Right. And so, and if we can make sure that our teachers are properly funded, our schools are funded, good schools, we're going to attract the people. And when you attract the people, your population's better, you have a stronger economy within your city.
Right. So Biloxi being a great city in new development, new families coming in from other areas.
Oh, yes.
It's a tourist attraction. And we right now located in Sugar Factory, Hard Rock, Biloxi. Being a tourist attraction, how do you coincide with the tourist committee to make sure the locals are being properly treated? Because a lot of times locals say, well, they do all this for the visitors, they do all this for the tourists, and how do you coincide with them to make sure people that's been here get treated equally?
Yeah. Of course, my job as a city councilman is to ensure city services are done and done properly and done well. So our job is to make sure our citizens of the city of Biloxi get good treatment, get services within our city, to make sure the water is proper, make sure our garbage is picked up, make sure our streets are clean. Things have to look good. In order to attract good businesses, we need to show ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's just like just like the old lady, we got to put on that pretty dress,
You gotta put it on.
put the lipstick, the makeup on, get a good haircut, because when people are shopping around to put their business, we want them to come to Biloxi.
All right.
Now, as a lawmaker, with the position I was bidding for, we need to continue to push our lawmakers to do things for our cities. in the state of Mississippi, we need to start looking at bringing up the minimum wage.
I agree.
So when you start talking about people working and taking care of our workers, the minimum wage needs to go nothing less than $15, and we need to raise it up to that minimum level. And that was one of the things that I wanted to push as a lawmaker, and even as a councilman, to continue to push my lawmaker, the one that I was bidding in, push him to go ahead and move that forward. Just because you don't make it to that spot don't mean you stop working. You go ahead and you continue to work, you continue to petition, and look out for the citizens around you. Because if you bring up the wages, and if you bring up the quality of life, it's only going to make your city look a whole lot better.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
As you see, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Guy is definitely a second ward representative, and he also want to get things done on a state level. That is great, and we're definitely pulling for you, and we want that to happen because we do need a great representative of this state. I get tired of the we last in this, we last in that, and when I go out of town and go out of state and see states say, we know about Mississippi, y'all number one in obesity and poverty, and they just down us,
Yeah, first in everything last, and last in everything first. And we got to change that. But of course, there are some bright spots, because if we look at the authors, all of our, like Neil Simon and all those guys, if we look at the authors, we have, for us to be on the bottom in education, why do we have the number one authors who write books? So we do have some firsts there, and we have some bright spots. We just need to toot our own horn just a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Definitely got to feel good to be from Mississippi when those topics do come up when you're in other states. Ladies and gentlemen that's listening, that's from here, we have a lot of bright spots, like Mr. Guy said. We really do. This is one of the number one states in the country for retirement people.
Absolutely, and your money go a long way. You can buy a home cheap. Your retirement money goes a long way. You're almost talking about beachfront property. And, when people come to Mississippi, in particular Biloxi, because I'm pushing Biloxi.
That's right.
When they come to Mississippi and they come to Biloxi, Mississippi, they go, well, wow, I did not know. And what was so funny is Andrew Young, civil rights activist, civil rights icon, had a function here not long ago. And you think of civil rights activist Andrew Young, former Atlanta mayor, who was raised right over in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Who came over to Biloxi to play in the water, to play on the beaches. I had a chance to speak to him, and this is like 3-4 months ago, a chance to speak to him, and he talked about his childhood of coming over to Mississippi to play in the beaches, because New Orleans didn't have the beaches like we had it.
They still don't.
Yeah,
right.
and was amazed that from where it came from the civil rights times of Dr. Gibbard R. Mason integrating the beaches to where it's at now. And he said, I'm absolutely amazed because I haven't been here in such a long time.
Right.
So when people like that who come to town and say, this is the way it was, but this is what I'm seeing now, we just have to do a better job of tooting our own horn.
That's right.
Letting people know what we have. And, and yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but we have come quite far.
Absolutely. And that was definitely some great Black history right there.
Yes.
Yes. We in the month of February, too. I didn't know Mr. Young used to play on our beaches and stuff. And that's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Because when you say playing in the water, that had to been back in the day for Mr. Young.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And as you know, he was a Methodist minister.
Really?
And and he came over with the Methodist Church. And so, like I said, for me, it was a feel good just to be able to sit down and talk with him. And of course, being from the same fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, that we are actually brothers among the Greeks.
A distinction. What's the slogan y'all got? Men of what now? There it is. There it is. Yes, indeed. This has been a great interview with Mr. Felix, guys. And before we go, give some insight, or I tell you what, give a great exit on how Biloxians can look up from this day on.
Biloxi can look up for this day on. Yeah, Biloxi is a great place. Like I said, I was reared in Biloxi. Had an opportunity to go through the military and a whole lot of other places, but this is home. One thing about Biloxi, you can always go to your neighbor and talk to them.
That's right.
You can go to just about any house and be fed.
That's right.
You know, and even with our mayor, Andrew Fofo Gillage, a hometown guy, open door policy. There's nothing like Biloxi. And I've had an opportunity to settle in many places, but I decided to come back home and do what I needed to do here at home. And I want to be a part of the great changes. I want to be a part of the future. And we have a lot in store. And there are a whole lot of things on the horizon for Biloxi that I'm not at liberty to say yet, but I'm excited about the future of Biloxi.
That is awesome. That is a great exit, ladies and gentlemen. And like what y'all say when y'all be on them podiums at functions, God bless America and God bless Biloxi. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate everything.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
I want to thank y'all once again for tuning in to Coastal Spotlight. You made it to the end of another episode. I appreciate that. And we appreciate that here at Coastal Spotlight. And we also want to thank the Sugar Factory inside Hard Rock, Biloxi. That's right, Sugar Factory have great food and fantastic drinks. In front of me, I have two of my favorite drinks, Sour Apple Lolly, Caramel Macchiato Martini. You can only find these drinks at Sugar Factory. Thank you and good night.